I'm Yuri, and it's 2025, so we're throwing things to the wayside. We're changing things up. We're flipping the table. We're starting the year with a gear review. I was watching a vlog by Japanese composer Natsumi Rui, and she had a little piece of gear on her desk. And after some research, I found this to be the Razer Tartarus. So we're going to do a short little review as how this works for a composer. So this could also be interpreted for how it's going to work if you did 3D modeling or something. We're not really reviewing it for gaming, which I know it's intended for. I will still talk about that in a little bit, but the focus is going to be on composing. So what is it? It's just this chunk of hardware that has 20 keys, 19 here, one little one here, a joystick, a little button thingy here, and a scrolly wheel. And that's about it. You can make these keys do whatever you want. They can be macros, key commands. In short, this has pretty much completely replaced my keyboard. And the pretty much I'll explain later. Unfortunately, you still do need a keyboard, but this is definitely a now new must-have in my studio. In terms of things that I really like about it, the goods, if you like, it is considerably quicker than using a keyboard. Lots of the time, I use a lot of key commands, over 40 of them. So on everyday composing, not like comes in every so often. Like we're using these every single day. And so because I have so many, it means I'm doing weird stuff like Control-Shift-Alt-G or Control-Shift, all these things because Control-Shift-G is already done and G is already done and Shift-G is already done. So because of this, it means we've got to do these weird key commands that take a lot of time to put in, that it's a lot easier to just press one button and have it done. That also leads on to the next point of I only need to use one hand. Again, if I'm using Control-Shift-Alt-G, I need to take my hand off the mouse and put it in to hit the G key, with my other hand doing the Control-Shift-Alt. So having this down to just one thing, one button press, is amazing. It's a lot easier. It reduces the amount of times I have to move my hand around. And yeah, one of the main reasons I tried to keep improving the workflow in my studio is not because I want to compose faster. That's obviously a huge benefit and a big part of it, but it's mainly due to RSI and other pain that comes from sitting at a desk all day, every day, doing this or this, whatever. And this absolutely reduces that pain. However, I should note, when playing games, because in games you are stuck to this position, you take your hand away and now you have no control. That's not really important in composing because we don't stick static the whole time. Even if you were writing in Sibelius, you'd still take your hand off to probably play on the keyboard and work something out, or maybe just sit back and think for a moment before we go into the next one. But on gaming, you can't do that, or you die, or you lose, or fall off, or whatever. So you are stuck in this position. And I did notice that my hands are obviously longer than people with shorter hands. I don't have like gigantic hands or anything, but if you're a woman, you probably have shorter hands than me. And if that's the case, you won't have the same problems that I do, which is when you have your hands reached out over the 11 to 15 row and you keep them on there for too long, it starts to cramp up. So that's why I have to now use that next row above it. That's not really too big an issue. Like I said, everything is programmable, so you can put in whatever you want. And this is only an issue when you're playing a game or something where you're stuck to only using those keys constantly with your hand glued there. But otherwise, in composing, I have never had any problems at all. So this is still sitting in the good because, again, the discomfort only comes from like gaming in a certain way, and you need to just find what works for you. But I just do want to mention that for the people who also want to play games and also want to use this piece of computer hardware there. So they're not bad or good. So one of the main reasons that I wanted this was in the vlog, I saw this. And that made it look like she was using the mouse with the little joystick thing that they've got there. And I thought, that's cool. With my RSI, I often try to find other ways, such as using my left hand to reach over to the mouse and control that, which is not pleasant or very good, but it stops my right hand from doing that. So I saw this as, wow, that's great. You know, this will never be a substitute for the mouse completely, just something that I can do every so often to not always have to reach up with that right hand and reduce some of the pain. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that great. Can you do it? Absolutely. There are some third-party plugins that are meant to make a joystick work for the mouse. I couldn't find any ones that actually worked. All the ones that worked were specifically for an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller or something like that. None of them seemed to work for this. The only way that I found that worked was to actually go into the settings and go to this and do that thing, and then you can control it there. And it works. It's not bad. It's a little bit slow, I'll admit, because it starts out really slow and then speeds up. Or you can press control and it can do these big jumps, which is great. But that speed issue isn't really the problem here, because I would rather trade a little bit of speed for zero pain than do things faster and be in pain constantly. So the speed isn't really too big of a problem. It is a bit annoying, but it's not the major issue. The major issue is this can only work with the number pad on or off. You cannot have them both on the number pad and these controls. And if these controls are off, well, they're not working, so it doesn't matter. If the number pad is on or off or whatever, which one you want to do, you can make it, either way. But the minus, the slash, and the little number thingy, the asterisk or whatever it's called, they are extremely important. That is going backwards, record, and loop. If I'm using the mouse, I'm almost certainly trying to do one of those things. And in the case of just a quick move over to click on something, that would only be in the situation like we saw with her. She has a bass or a guitar on her lap. Or maybe she's doing something else or something along, It's not in a situation where I'm already holding the mouse. So it doesn't make much sense to not be able to hit record and to use the mouse. So that clash kind of doesn't work. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I'm sure there's someone out there who could make a very simple plugin to make it work. Or maybe there's already one and I just haven't found it. The thing I'm putting this in the category is because I don't actually think that this is the biggest issue. This was never the main reason, and the amount of pain it has reduced is enormous. I basically don't have any pain anymore at all, and I almost constantly had pain before. So the reason that I wanted it to be a mouse was because I had the pain, but now with the comfort of these two things working, I don't have any pain anyway, so that's not an issue. There are 3 bad things about it that I want to mention. The first one is the spamming. This is not a problem unique to this. Every single thing that does commands for you as one button has this problem. I've done a few different things where I've connected an iPad or a tablet or something to my computer and use that as a touch screen. I've used some other in thing where you just click on with a mouse and it does it, whatever. None of them really work with the spamming when you're doing things like Control-Alt-Shift-P or whatever. That works normally if you give it a solid press, so it's not an issue too much. But if I wanted to do that, for example, Control-Shift-Alt-Space as a way to zoom in, then I'm not going to press it once to zoom in a little bit. I'm doing this because I want to look at the waveform exactly when it starts. So I'm pressing this a lot. I'm spamming it in there. And that's not a problem when I use a keyboard, but when I come to this and I press it, it can't do all of them always every time if I'm spamming. Individual presses, no problem, but spamming it has this problem. So it starts doing space, which plays the track, and then shift space, which does something else, and then maybe it does it all, and it zooms in a little bit, and then it does, and it causes this little bit of a problem. Again, that's not unique to this, so I don't think this is a harmful thing to the product itself. I think it's just whenever you're using another third-party software or hardware, they never seem to work with this way, and it's annoying that this one doesn't either. The other is there are so many key commands. I use over 40, well over 40. I'll show you which ones I use here. And this list is changing. It might even change between the time that I've filmed this and edited this. I use so many that I don't know what to do. I've almost overlapped. I did actually build up completely, and then I had to go off to things and make it go, now this is only S, and I'll have to hit Control and S at the same time. Still, better than using a keyboard, don't get me wrong, But it is annoying that I have to do this compromise instead of having one button to press. Now, the worst thing about this is the reason I said before, you still need a keyboard. Why do you still need a keyboard? Because if you're searching for a plugin, you cannot search for it. Either you need to go in and scroll down and click here and then go to that one and click and now you've loaded it. Or you can simply type black hole. So it's very frustrating that when I want to search for a plugin, I have to reach over to my keyboard. Now I do have, I'm still working out the best way to do that. And like I mentioned before, I still have this as my main way when I'm composing and use the keyboard only as when I need it. But it is very frustrating that I'm not able to do that. And of course I'm not able to do that. That makes a lot of sense that I'm not able to do that. But it is very annoying. So without rambling on too much, in short, I'm absolutely glad I have it. This is a new complete staple of my composing studio workflow. I don't think I will ever go without it. I might replace it in a way that makes it better, but I'm definitely not taking it away. It has been a huge improvement on both workflow and pain relief. So that's amazing. So yeah, thanks for coming with me to my one step closer. No, let's go 3 steps closer. 3 steps closer. 3 steps closer to the perfect studio setup. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Check it out if you like it. I genuinely recommend it, but you can be the one to decide that. Laters.